None. Good. Right. Welcome everyone. Yet another morning and the Wisdom's Chats, and this morning it's open mic morning. And Kevin was saying he hasn't got a clue what that means, and I said, well, that's exactly the way we understand it. We don't have a clue what it means either. So we're all on the same page here today. So as we were talking, as people were coming in, Wisdom's philosophy at the moment is fire, aim, ready. So we at fire and aim. We haven't got quite to ready yet, and we're thinking about that one, and we might be ready when the time comes. But who knows? That's what makes it interesting, what keeps it exciting, and keeps it fresh. So Lee, open mic. Who is he, and why is he here this morning?
You're on top form. I haven't. So today is you pick a topic, and it's not that we're all going to follow that topic, but it just would be interesting to know what is top of mind for you at the moment. So what is mulling over in your head, or something that's just prompted a certain amount of reflection, or just something that you'd like to throw into the pot and just tell us, this is what I'm thinking about, this is where my head is at the moment. It might be a question, it might be a comment, it might be a story, it might be something that has struck you as being particularly important or inspirational or valuable for yourself at this time. So it is literally open mic. Ivan will pick on you as he does, and you will be put on the spot, and it will just be good to know where your thinking is at the moment. And I'm going to be listening very carefully to see, okay, is there a thread, or is there something that sparks my attention that we can follow through with for the rest of the week. I have a topic, but I'm not going to start with it. So it's over to you, whoever wants to say something.
Great, thanks, Lisa. Let's see who's our first open mic karaoke artist this morning. So I think let's pick on Stella for a change. Stella, let's come to you first. See what's on your mind this morning.
No. Morning, everyone. No, there's a lot on my mind. With my business, with my personal life as well, my relationships that I've got. The last couple of weeks, I rediscovered something else about myself that I'm trying to work on. I've realized that when I'm depressed or feeling a bit down, then I tend to draw within myself, and I don't want to speak to anybody. And my very good friend is helping me with that, to rather talk about it. So I'm on a very exciting yet scary self journey of myself. So mingled with that, with my business and the uncertainty of the market and what's happening. So there's a lot on my mind at the moment. But I think what I've also realized is I must make more time to just be still. I went on a church retreat on Saturday, where we were, it was for the whole day, and for a couple of hours, then you're not allowed to talk to anyone, and you just go and sit there. And so something profound happened to me when we had to go and sit outside. I went and I sit on a bench by like a river. And as I went, so the river is there, and then there's trees on the other side. And as I went and I sit, as I looked up, the sun was shining right onto me. And I just had this sense of blessing, genade onbeskryflik groot. What the English is blessings, you know, and mercy that I feel that I'm receiving. And the water symbolized for me that in Afrikaans is strome lewende water. It's new life that I'm getting. Yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. So it meant a lot to me at this time of my life to realize that. Okay, I was on the spot. I wasn't prepared to deal it, but it just came to me to share with you guys.
I knew I had to come to you first this morning, Stella, because I knew there was something going on. Yeah, and to add into it,
Thanks,
we gave our international visitors a bit of an Afrikaans lesson. So, guys, hope you took that on board this morning.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I hope you understood what I was saying.
No, that's great. Thanks, Stella. All right, let's get across to Edward next. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I think this is really good timing. On Monday, I listened to a webinar about brands being authentic, and how they need to be authentic now. And it drifted into personal authenticity. And the speaker mentioned a thing called covering. And I'd never heard of covering, so I looked it up. And it's about people covering up aspects of their personality that they think will inhibit how well they get on. So it might be denying something like that you're gay, or it might be something like women not talking about their children at work because they don't want to be seen to be not career orientated. And I just found that quite interesting. So I did a bit of research, and apparently it was something that came up in 1963 by a sociologist called Irving Goffman. And I then found a report by Deloitte. It's about American experiences. And they were saying about the extent of covering. And apparently 83% of LGBT individuals cover up at some extent, but only 75% of straight white men. And I found that really interesting. And the presenter, who was black, explained that in America, many black women have straight hair because it's seen that having natural hair is too African and they won't get on at work, which I found really interesting. And you could see that, and she explained that now, and she used to work for Ernst Young, it was now called EY, the consultancy firm, and she said she had straight hair when she worked for them. But now she had her natural hair, and you could see her natural hair on the webcast. And, you know, I connected with her on LinkedIn afterwards, and I was amazed to find that her profile picture had straight hair. So what I'd really like to discuss is the whole concept of covering, but also how do we as individuals contribute to making people feel they must cover up? How complicit are we in that process? And it covers all things. So it could just be something as simple as not wanting to agree to a bunch of people from Johannesburg that I support the Sharks. Or it could be something much more fundamental, like, you know, your sexuality, your race, your color, your gender. So I'd really like to discuss that at some point in time.
Great, thanks. Yeah, that's an interesting topic. I must admit, I'd never thought of it in such defined terms, but I suppose it is. It's almost a natural instinct for some people to put up those facades and those personas when they're going into different situations. So the question is, how do we become more authentic? I suppose how do we become true to ourselves? Yeah, and it could be a very interesting topic. Right, Warren, let's come across to you next.
Morning, everyone. I was just sitting there thinking, what is on my mind, as I was hoping you weren't going to pick me next. What's on my mind? Really, I'm a bit nervous, I'll be honest, about face-to-face networking at the moment. So I'm part of your partnerships. I've been doing the virtuals. I actually met the team yesterday, which was really nice. We had a team training. We got some photos together, socially distanced, obviously. But yeah, no, it was really nice. But Brock started doing the face-to-face meetings, and for the moment, because they're very limited, I'm not going to go because to let the other members go, but I'll do all the virtual ones. So that is on my mind. This is when I take that step to do the face-to-faces. But it's that my kids are good. My kids have finished school now for the rest of the summer. My wife is not homeschooling. She's getting a haircut today for the first time in 5 months. She's so excited. I can't believe it. But yeah, so what's on mind is how we can enjoy the rest of the summer with the kids and still fulfill my work commitments and do that. So it's all good because it's all remote for me with what I do normally in my normal business. But the Your Partnerships is going to go gradually, going to have some face-to-face meetings, but it's going global. I think I had the American one. I think they've done a South African one. I think there's an Australia one coming up or a Canadian one. Anyway, that's going mad. But yeah, that's what's on my mind really. I'll be honest, is when am I going to take that step to do the face-to-face meetings? And it was really difficult yesterday because I know a lot of the people that were there yesterday, and I'll be honest, I actually hugged a few people because I haven't been able to hug them. And then I thought, should I have done that? And I thought, oh, well, I've done it now. I can't think any more about it. So, yeah, it's been, that's been playing on my mind. So, yeah, that's me. Sorry. Brief, short and brief.
Not at all. I think it is an interesting challenge for all of us. You know, when do you sort of get back into the mainstream? Is there a mainstream to get back into? And if we do get back into it, how do we re-engage with it? So, I think it is an interesting concept that we're going to have to tackle at some point in time in the future. Right. So, Jasper, what's on your mind?
Morning. What was on my mind is what am I going to talk about? I think all these other topics, Edward's topic certainly can become a whole topic for a morning or a few mornings. I think what I find myself in as a result of the time that we're in is the challenge of focus, that I find I have so many things that I took on as a result of repositioning what we're doing and for the future. And many of them are almost at an equal unfinished stage, and they all require certain input, which at this stage I can do. And then I find myself going through a whole day working myself, long hours, and then don't feel I've moved anything forward. So I now have to make a few difficult decisions to say, which of the balls am I going to drop temporarily just to finish off the one thing or the two things that is emotionally draining me because it's not finished, so that once that's out of the way, I would have a lot more emotional energy for the task ahead. So I think I'll make that the contribution for today, the challenge of focus.
Yeah, thanks, Jasper. Yeah, I think all these Zoom meetings, focus becomes a real challenge at times. Certainly for me, it has. Spending hours and hours in Zoom meetings on a daily basis can be quite distracting. So, right, Cecile, what's on your mind this morning? You're muted, Cecile. Your mic.
Sorry. Yes, what's on my mind this morning is just unfinished business. That if one can just, I feel like I wish I could have face-to-face meetings so that you can actually establish if the people that you are dealing with are actually flesh and blood people, because in this industry that I'm now, boy, it feels like a whole lot of ghosts that you're working with. Actually, on Sunday, I drove en route to my daughter's house, I drove to a warehouse where the guy says his office is. And to my dismay, I found virtually a big warehouse. It looks empty. But there's a security guard with a big R1 rifle and that hardly speaks English. So I said to him, is this so-and-so's office? And he like, and I said, who is in this office? So he says, no, the boss is not here. That was Saturday afternoon. So I said, who's the boss? So he said who the boss was. So I said, what is inside? And he said, masks. So I'm not anywhere further because the person who I'm supposed to be dealing with about that masks, you talk to them, and Jasper, it's almost like when you enroll new people into network marketing, they are all keen, and the minute that they've joined, they disappear into the witness protection program. You cannot talk to them, they don't talk to you. They're just missing for days, and then you assume, okay, well, that deal is off. So it is so frustrating to me. I've got 2 big deals that are about to happen this morning, and now a few minutes before this webinar started, the one guy said to me, is the deal still on? The supplier, and the buyer is kind of nowhere now. So, this is frustrating me. In this last 3-4 months, it was interesting what Warren just said about face-to-face meetings. In this last 4 months, I've had one single face-to-face meeting to a customer that I actually explained so nicely because his switchboard has blown. So I explained so nicely to him what I think we could do to help him. In writing, I wrote like a whole essay so that he could understand it, and then he still said, "Oh, I don't understand." I wanted to see him to explain this, but then he said, "No, they don't see people." So I wrote this whole essay to go to explain to me, and then he said, "Oh, I still don't understand what you want to do. So let's have a face-to-face meeting." So I went and I had this face-to-face meeting, which was the strangest thing. Normally, when you walk into a business, you greet people kind of with a handshake, and they were like awkwardly looking at each other. They're sitting on the other side of the table. I'm sitting on this side of the table, and they're wearing their masks. I'm wearing my shield. I wear a shield, so at least people can still see your face and what you're doing. But yeah, so just doing business that way is doable, but awkward. It is like Warren says, you want to actually, even if you don't know them, you want to kind of rush up and hug them or just shake their hand or do something. It's really awkward. So yeah, so we'll just see. So guys, just hold thumbs that I'm not working with more ghosts, that I actually have flesh and blood people here that I can work with. That's on my mind today.
Thanks, Cecilia. I think you highlight a number of emerging challenges. As what went through my mind as you were talking there towards the end is, maybe this whole thing is preparing us for interstellar travel, where we'll all be wearing masks and suits and things like that going forward in the future. Who knows? So roll on Elon Musk and his Mars probe. So yeah, let's see what happens out of that one. Right, Mpalela, let's get across to you.
Good morning to everyone. Might I say it's great to see you guys. Jasper stole my thunder, but anyway, I'll add a bit to what he said. And Edward mentioned the sharks, but anyway, life goes on. Look, to what Jasper was saying about the challenge of focus, that's what actually I've been having in my mind of late, to say, look, even when I talk to people that are fortunate to still have jobs, but they are now working from home, they are finding that the workload is increasing because they can be called at any time, emails can be sent anytime, they're expected to respond. So everyone that has a job and is still working, that's what I'm hearing from them. And looking at myself as well is the whole process of repositioning, rethinking how I'm doing business based on the changes of the of the COVID, it creates such an overwhelming amount of work to do. And so the question I would have had to everyone else is to say, if you are having a similar experience, how are you managing all these many balls that have to be juggled in such a way that it's not overwhelming? And added to that, some of us are still in the life stage where we have little children, and therefore they're still also attending to them and homeschooling them. I've actually explained to Lee that I homeschool them until about 11, 11:30, and then from 12 o'clock, do I then start doing my own work? So it already tells you how much has to happen within a day. So if anyone can say how they're managing all these many things, it would be great to hear that. I have read something of late which is changing my mindset, that was saying being busy is actually inefficient. And this person explained why having a lot to do creates inefficiencies. And if you want to be efficient as a person, you take one thing, do that, and finish it. So that's that. The second one that I have in mind that we'll see how we handle it is, I think it will be interesting to speak about how COVID has affected different industries. How has it affected manufacturing? How has it affected mining? And this whole question comes from trying to see where the money is going. Probably other industries will recover quicker than other ones. So I'm not sure if we can have that conversation, probably look at 3 or 4 pointers that then say, maybe if we look at aviation, that's where most of the opportunities will come from. So yeah, those are the thoughts and the questions I had in mind. Sorry, I'm a researcher, so we always ask questions.
Oh, you're supposed to come up with the answers once you've done your research on Pulilas. Yeah, but what you were saying, made me think of, it's perhaps a little bit of a cliche, but it's the difference between being efficient and effective. So, being efficient is doing things right, and being effective is doing the right things. Think about that one a little bit, perhaps. So, Master, let's get across to you.
Yeah, my unmute seems to be hiding from time to time, so I have to do some bit of search. Thanks, and it is quite great to meet you again. I think there's a new phenomenon that is developing in me. I said to Stella the other time, I see myself as a people's person. So it seems that I'm overwhelmed by the number of relationships that are emerging almost daily, since the past 2 weeks or so. But one of the things which I thought will be something quite interesting. I think one of the participants mentioned it, is about being more like self-consumed and hiding. Even the Zoom meetings can be a hiding place where you do not have time to find yourself and what are your real challenges, and you sort of yearn to have another meeting where they will inspire you quickly, and you go back to your hiding place, and then you wait for another meeting and hide and hide and hide and hide, and you're not facing your real challenges, that are facing you in your industry and your business as a whole. So hiding can be some of the things that we may be experiencing. The more we experience problems, and then the more you use either your Zoom, or you can't wait for another Zoom, and in that space you tend to forget and to face your own Goliath, and that can be a very serious problem. Over time, you continue hiding. The second thing is more about, the businesses that we own can own us, to a large extent, that you find meaning, your self-meaning or your self-worth in the business that you own, such that when you're not doing well, you become grumpy for everybody. You can talk to people, and even when you're faced with challenge, because this thing is consuming you and you're seeing this threat of losing this thing that defines you. So at times, some of the things that we are blessed with has a tendency of defining us, and we tend to lose ourselves into them instead of us owning them, but they own us, and they give us definition. You can't face people because you are facing a possibility of losing this thing that gives you meaning. So yeah, those are the two things that I think at some stage we need to visit and try to. I actually like this platform because now we opening up, we getting a vast, should I say, wisdom from different people that keeps us that reminds us that we are all human. We all facing one or two things that are different from the others, but the bottom line is that we may be hiding from our own selves. We do not go deeper into self-introspection.
Great, thanks, Master. Yeah, some excellent points there. I like that, hiding in plain sight on Zoom. So yeah, it's very good, very good. Kevin, let's get across to you.
Good morning, everyone. Right, as a rule, life-wise, I don't tend to watch much on the TV. Last night, I made a bit of an exception. I did watch a program. It was the second of three about the Rupert Murdoch empire. I'm sure he's familiar to you all in South Africa as much as everywhere else on the globe. And last night's episode was all about the scandal a few years ago about the phone hacking. And it's amazing to hear these years afterwards what was going on, who was involved, who was doing what, and the network of people that were involved, intertwined, was unbelievable in some respects. But it did raise the thought, well, with all that happening then, how much is still going on now? I mean, surely it hasn't just gone away just like that. There must be some sort of things like that still going on. And you think, well, who is listening to everybody else? Because we still hear stories now, slightly different tangent, of the Russians interfering with elections in some way or other, in similar sort of things. So, yeah, it had me thinking last night, well, what is going on in the world with regards to these power moguls and big networks of behind the scenes interfering with governments.
Yeah, some interesting conspiracy theories that we can get into in those discussions as well, I'm absolutely sure. So yeah. Right, Solomon, let's get across to you and hear your thoughts. What's on your mind this morning?
Good morning. I hope you can hear me clearly. Say yes or no or something. Okay, so I've got two things really that's been consuming my mind. The first one is my work. So with my work with property and all that, I've been having different kinds of deals that the bank has been refusing to actually give people loans. And not because the people don't have enough points or they don't qualify, just because of the bank is so worried about people's securities in their jobs. So one day a person has got a job today and then tomorrow they don't have a job anymore. So obviously for people that are buying houses, if they are not secured with their salary, that means I'm not going to be earning any money. So yeah, it's quite quite interesting to be able to be emotionally in a better state. I'm a person of hope, a person who doesn't believe in the fact that I haven't taken right steps. So yeah, I've been obviously thinking about creative ways of how am I gonna make sure everybody is getting qualified. Just speaking to different kinds of bond originators, etc., etc. So that's the one part that I've been thinking about. The other part, which is a bit of a burden to me, I'm seeing every day, especially in the townships, a lot of the Black folks, people are getting pregnant while they're still little. A lot of families are children-orientated. Children are taking care of the homes. Parents are not there most of the time. So I'm really burdened with our future communities and the Black communities and how people need to begin to grab hold of the principles of family and because family is really building blocks of a healthy societies. And obviously, if we've got a healthy society, then it's able to extend better to the rest of the nation, and the nation is able to work harmoniously. So I really have been thinking about that and how a person can really make an impact in these communities. Yeah, thanks.
Great, thanks, Solomon. Yeah, some big concerns there. The socio-economic impact of this whole thing is going to be unfolding as we go forward, I think, and it's not going to be positive in many cases, unfortunately. So how do we make a difference there? I'm not sure either, but it's a big question, I think, it's in a lot of people's minds. Right, Donovan, are you with us this morning? Can you join us? What's on your mind?
Yes. Good morning, everyone. Yes, I just had a thought of being sure of or being sure in uncertain times. Which is a contradiction in terms. I just thought of what do you do when you don't know what to do? So I only came up with one answer. You can only do what you can do. So that's the puzzle we need to work out on a daily basis. To navigate your way through what we're experiencing at the moment. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Donovan. Yeah, and I think the key word in all of that is do. Eh? Yeah, we've got to keep on doing things. We can't just stop and wait, because that's never going to get us anywhere. Right, Trevor, I think over to you to have the last say, and before we wrap up for the morning.
Oh my goodness, I've got 10,000 things on my mind for the next 30 seconds, let alone the other 300,000 things I want to bring up. But a couple of things. In Mpumalelo, I just wanted to follow up with one thought on yesterday, selling, and the previous day. I just thought back, have I ever sold to a friend? And in my opinion, one should never sell to a friend. So that's number one. One really only shares opportunity with a friend and allows them to take that up. So I'm just going to park that here, because I had a whole lot of thoughts that I was going to share with you. What's on my mind? I must say that I believe that many of us have never been confronted with a crisis of this nature in global terms. I think this is one of the biggest crises we've ever faced. And I'm starting to think in the last 100 days that we are experiencing corruption in South Africa like we have never experienced before. Now, that's saying something. I think corruption on a daily basis, reading through and in between the lines, is it has 20x'd in the last 100 days or 115 days. Now, why am I saying that? What is the effect on us? And as individuals, how do we actually respond to this? When other people are affecting our lives, what can we actually do to remain in control of our lives in a situation where we think that people are dragging us down? I mean, this could affect the value of our homes. It can affect the amount of tax that's not going to come in because there's no work and all of that. We've got to be thinking of these things. And it leaves me absolutely excited because I think this just means that if we think, and the type of inputs that are coming out of a panel like this, and someone mentioned your partnerships, Warren, and the people in the UK that we're talking to in the US and New Zealand and Australia, 100 days ago, we never had this. I have never had so much excitement, so much input, so much different thinking that allows me to actually tweak a couple of ideas and turn around and say, okay, so how do we beat all of this negativity that's coming in? It is just coming in bucket loads, and it's more and more of it's going to come in, and Stella's just going to get more and more depressed, but she's going to she's going to get us excited about opening up an opportunity to many millions of people. So all I want to say, what's at the top of my mind at the moment is opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. How do we take action to maximize the opportunity and minimize our risk when most other people are going to collapse in a heap? That's where my day is spent, and I like to try and spend 30 seconds thinking about it.
Great, thanks, thanks, Trevor. Yeah, opportunity. I think absolutely. You know, then that comes back to exactly what Donovan was saying. You've got to do. You've got to actually get out there and do stuff. You can't sit back and wait. You've got to take control and work out what you can do and be proactive about. And I think that's really where where I'm focusing at the moment is how to be proactive. But I loved what Master said about hiding behind Zoom. I think that's something we've got to be careful of. We've got to watch out for those escape and procrastination traps that we get stuck in, and I think the potential for that in this environment is probably greater than it's ever been. So actually, I love that input, Master. So that was superb. Fantastic. Right, folks. Lee, back to you. What's on your mind for today and tomorrow?
What an absolute array of incredible thoughts, and just a really I do want to say that I really appreciate people's openness to share where they're at. It was an interesting comment. Samantha popped in on Monday. I think she has technical problems. She absolutely loved coming in. She was recommended, or she was referred by Paul, who's a regular on this group. And she really loved sharing, but it was the first time she was, just came in for that one session. But I had an opportunity to chat to her the next day, and she said she was really struck by the honesty and the openness in the group. And I think that was something that, when you're in it and you're involved and you're connected on a daily basis, it just takes somebody from outside who's never stepped in before. And I just want to acknowledge that with everybody, to say thank you for being willing to share your thoughts, and sometimes the most vulnerable of thoughts. So that really, as Master was saying, we recognize our humanness in this, and that it is a shared human journey that we're all going through. So I'm really torn between two stories, two areas that I think we can explore, and I think we will definitely explore both. And the one is this, the hiding. Edward used the word covering. Who are we when a particular context has an expectation that you should be like this? And Master built on that when he was talking about, we even in Zoom, we're using these events almost to not deal with the real stuff that's happening in our lives. So there's that very personal process. And then the other one is, connecting what Trevor and Pumelelo and Jasper have been talking about, which is the work is there, and there's this sea. Cecile talked about it as well. There's this almost sense of being overwhelmed by what we need to do, what we want to do, the balls that we're juggling. There appears to be this incredible opportunity, and yet how do we take advantage of it? Donovan said, what do you do when you don't know what to do? And it's that level of focus, of doing what you can, of taking advantage of opportunities, especially in an environment where things are coming at you, and a lot of negativity. I almost want to do a poll as to which direction we go in first. You know what? Let's do the opportunity one, because it's going to lead into the Wisdom's Global Summit on Friday. So we'll get an opportunity to talk tomorrow and Friday about how do we manage, or how do we take advantage of the opportunities that are that are there, even though, as Solomon says, I mean, he can sell houses, but the banks are preventing people from getting loans. So we acknowledge these difficulties, but so how are we realistic about what the difficulties are, but keep paddling, you know, in this river that's coming down at us. So let's explore opportunities tomorrow, and especially around not just what opportunities, how do we focus? How do we build capacity within ourselves when it's overwhelming? Is that okay?
Great, thanks Lee. Yeah, okay, world full of opportunities. Let's go out and grab them while we can this morning and tomorrow, and we'll hear about how you're doing that in the morning. So have a great one, folks. Look forward to hearing your thoughts tomorrow again. Go well, have a nice one. Bye.